Hi, I am a student from Harmony School of Advancement, and in this video I will be explaining the Kastle Meyer presumptive test. Kastle Meyer testing is an operation performed to analyze if a piece of evidence found at a crime scene contains blood. The solution is a result of the hydrogen peroxide oxidizing the phenolphthalein solution in the presence of hemoglobin, causing the cotton swab to change from colorless to pink. Meaning if the cotton swab contains a pink color at the end of testing, then the sample was positive for blood. Here is a list of the materials we used to conduct the Kastle Meyer test.
Cotton swabs, 95% ethanol, distilled water, pipette, phenolphthalein solution, hydrogen peroxide, blood samples.
To conduct the Kastle Meyer test, first wet one end of the cotton swab with distilled water using the pipette. Then retrieve one of the blood samples from the sample bag and rub the wet cotton swab on the blood sample. After absorbing some of the blood samples, retrieve another pipette. Retrieve the 95% ethanol inside of the new pipette and pour 2 drops of the liquid on the cotton swab. After use, discard the pipette. After this, get another pipette, fill with phenolphthalein solution, and pour 2 drops on the cotton swab. After use, then discard the pipette. Lastly, get a final pipette, fill with hydrogen peroxide, and pour 2 drops on the cotton swab. If the cotton swab turns a pink color, then the sample is positive for blood. If the color fades, returning back to colorless, then the sample is negative for blood. When testing, each experiment took an average of 8 to 10 drops per test. By testing the positive control, we were able to determine what a positive blood result is supposed to look like when reacting with the chemicals in the materials list. When testing the negative control, we were able to visually understand what happens if the blood sample is not actual blood. The cotton swab's red color started to fade after applying the chemicals representing fake blood. When testing scene sample 1, we added the 95% ethanol, phenolphthalein solution, and hydrogen peroxide, which resulted in the cotton swab brightening in pink color. This represents a positive blood sample, and when compared to the positive control, it indicates a clear positive for blood. When testing scene sample 2, we followed the same steps. However, the cotton swab for this sample began to fade from its red color. This represents a negative blood sample, and when compared to the negative control, it indicates a clear negative for blood. For our English component, we documented our journey into truly understanding the Kastle Meyer presumptive blood test. During the startup phases of the experiment, we set up the basics of our Google site. Afterwards, we researched this topic to understand the importance of what the Kastle Meyer experiment is and what the test is trying to accomplish. We then carefully conducted our experiment, making sure that we followed all the instructions while documenting the results in our Google site. Lastly, we analyzed the data we collected and began composing a simple but concise analysis with a conclusion that highlighted all of the important details we studied. These results were then published on our Google site for others to view and gain their own understanding of presumptive blood testing. For our social studies component, we described the historical background and connections the Kastle Meyer test had on forensic blood analysis. The test was named after Joseph Hoeing Kastle, an American agricultural chemist, who invented and tested the crude blood test with the assistance of German physician and chemist Erich Meyer. Kastle was born in Lexington, Kentucky on January 25, 1864, and obtained his Ph.D. from Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland in 1888. Kastle's research focused on organic chemistry pertaining to animal processes and compounds. Since then, the Kastle Meyer test is still used today mainly by forensic scientists who test to see if evidence found at a crime scene contains blood. Thank you for watching Harmony School of Advancement.